Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I swear to you every time that I have a minute to go before the show starts and I haven't opened up the show screen yet, Restream kicks me out and I have to go through this whole process to get back in. So sorry for the late start. Want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by Royal Farms. Only a few weeks remain in Royal Farms' annual Chicken Palooza celebration. This year's deals include a 3-piece meal for just $8 and an 8-piece meal for just $12. Plus, you can go to royalfarms.com and enter for your chance to win chicken for a year. And while you're there, vote for your favorite charity as Royal Farms is donating 10 cents from every 3-piece meal sold during Chicken Palooza to the winning charity. Plus, don't forget to get your Chicken Palooza gear to celebrate everyone's favorite season. Stop by your neighborhood Rofo today. Waiting on Ryan. I believe he just sent me a text message. We'll see. He said 3 minutes, man. Sorry. So we're both off to a slow start today. Somebody who's not off to a slow start, though, is Zach Eflin. Made his third start for the Orioles last night. He goes 7 innings of shutout baseball, allowing just 4 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts on 93 pitches. And this is a guy who the Orioles traded 3 farmhands for. Zach Eflin, Mac Horvath, and Jackson Ballmeister. Is it Jackson or Jordan? I can't remember. Who cares? He's not here anymore. He was part of a 3-player package to get Zach Eflin, and Eflin has looked the part. Gave up 10 hits and 3 runs in his first start with the Orioles, but ever since then, he went 6 innings, a 2-run ball in his last start, 7 innings of shutout ball in this past start, something I don't believe he did at all for the Rays this year. Pitching to a 2.33 ERA with the Orioles, 19 1/3 innings pitched with 17 strikeouts and just 2 walks in those 3 starts. We knew the track record of him not walking people, and he has played that role since getting to Baltimore. And with Grayson Rodriguez's injury, which Ryan and I are going to get into once Ryan gets in here, Zach Eflin might just be what the doctor ordered here. Maybe filling that role of Grayson Rodriguez right now. We know Albert Suarez filled that role for Rodriguez with the late emergency start after the late scratch for Rodriguez. But we'll get into all that in a little bit. The Orioles win the ball game last night, 4-1. Colton Cowser with a leadoff home run. Cedric Mullins 2 for 4 with a home run. Ryan O'Hearn 2 for 3, 2 RBI and a walk. And Eloy Jimenez 3 for 4, 11 for 21 as an Oriole. But getting back to Ryan O'Hearn, we heard Ben McDonald say on the broadcast the other night that Ryan O'Hearn said, it's time to get hot. He goes out, gets a base hit that night, 2 more base hits last night, and a walk, drives into. I love the fact that he came out and said, it's time to get hot, and then he just went ahead and did it. Now, I know that it's not extra base hits, but he is getting on base now. Got on base 3 times last night. So that's something we need to see. Really need to see Adley getting hot here, as well as Gunnar Henderson, who has 3 home runs since the end of June. If both of those guys can get it going, watch out for this Orioles team. It is amazing how different the vibes feel when you're coming off a really, really solid win like the Orioles had last night, as opposed to what we've been coming off of like last Friday night when they went out there and they laid an egg against Cleveland. Just really nice for the Orioles to kind of get back to playing some good baseball here the last few days. Not the game against Toronto on Thursday, notwithstanding. That game was a struggle. They made a valiant effort to come back at the end. And, they were down 7-2 going into the 9th inning. They scored 4 runs. They had the tying run and go-ahead runs on base and just couldn't get it done. And, they didn't come back to win that game, but they made it a lot closer than it really should have been. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that may be a little bit of the spark that the team needed. But again, if they can get Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman going, it's going to make all the difference in the world for this ball club moving forward. Ryan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm all right. Sorry about that. We our side of the street lost power overnight. So my wife just woke me up and was like, "Do you have your show today?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to go." So I'm sorry about that. It messed with my alarm, but I'm here. I'm ready to talk some Orioles.
All good, all good. So yeah, it's funny. I opened the show about 45 seconds late because it was one of those situations where I got caught up typing notes that I didn't have in the show before that I wasn't going to put in, but I decided to. I look up and it's 9:58. So I send you the link. I get the show set up, write the little description, and then I go and I hit enter studio and it signs me out. Literally
Oh,
at 9:59 and 30 seconds, it signs me out. So I have to go through the whole process of signing back in. But at least I remembered how to do it this time. So I got back in. Just talking about last night's game, Ryan, a really, really solid all-around effort for the Orioles. Zach Eflin, 3 starts for the Orioles, 3 quality starts. For comparison, I believe he made 16 starts for the Rays before coming over. He had six quality starts in those 15 outings. He's got 3 and 3 starts for the Orioles. 7 innings of shutout ball last night, allows just 4 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. He has 17 strikeouts to just 2 walks in 19 and third innings pitched, covering 3 starts since coming to Baltimore. Is he just what the doctor ordered, especially with the Grayson Rodriguez injury, which we're going to get into here in a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about wanting a solid number 3 starter for a postseason series, and now with Grayson's status up in the air, Eflin might be your number 2, and he's done nothing but show that he was worth the prospects we gave up, at least in a small sample size so far, but still looking good. It's huge. Kramer struggled the other night. Rodriguez up in the air. Trevor Rogers hasn't really been. He's been okay, but not great. But Eflin has been, exactly what we needed from him. I mentioned when we traded for him that he was kind of, the best way to describe him was probably reliable at worst, and so far he's been more than that. And it's hard to ask for much more. Last night, his best outing so far as an Oriole. Really good to see, and hope he's able to keep it up.
And actually, I was wrong. It was 19 starts with Tampa Bay, and just the 6 quality starts. He's lowered in 3 starts. He's got a 2.33 ERA. He's allowed just 5 earned runs with the 17 strikeouts and just the 2 walks. Again, 2.33 ERA. He's down to a 3.83 ERA in 22 starts now. And this is a guy who finished top 6 in AL Cy Young voting last year after winning an American League leading 16 games of the 3.5 ERA. And yet we talk about we needed a sell on number 3. Even if Grayson Rodriguez is healthy, Zach Eflin might be your number 2 anyway, going into a playoff series. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly true. Rodriguez has taken his lumps every once in a while. And with Eflin, you got him on the mound. You're not expecting a complete game shutout like you might be with a Corbin Burns type pitcher, but you're going to have a chance to win if your offense is able to play well. And that's all you can ask for. So that's a good point that I hadn't even considered. Even if Grayson Rodriguez is healthy, Eflin might be the better option, the more reliable option at least. We saw what Grayson did in the postseason last year. It wasn't pretty. And maybe you need someone who's, a little more experienced, a little bit more of a veteran, and Eflin fits that bill. So, yeah, that's a good thing to think about, actually.
And you said that it was his best start as an Oriole. It was. It was also his best start of the season in general. It's the first time all year that he's gone 7 innings, allowing 0 runs. His game score last night was 75. Which was his best game score of the season. His next best was a 72 way back on April 20th against the Yankees when he went 6 shutout innings, allowed 3 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Last night's start was even better than that. Zach Eflin, here to stay. We've got him next year too. And, it's 3 starts. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We remember that Michael Lorenzen allowed no runs in 17 innings his first 2 starts with Philly last year after the trade deadline, including a no-hitter. And then he was so bad down the stretch, he didn't make the postseason roster. We don't think that's going to happen with Eflin. Eflin has certainly amassed the innings that Lorenzen hadn't at that point in his career. Lorenzen was already at a new career high in innings. That he hadn't been close to that in, 6 years? So yeah. Eflin is kind of more used to throwing. He threw 177 innings last year, almost 178. So we expect that he's going to be rear and ready to go for the Orioles down the stretch here, which is good to see, especially with the Grayson Rodriguez injury news. And let's get into that. Grayson Rodriguez, he was a late scratch from his start on Tuesday. He was seen on camera saying, "I don't feel right." He went back to Baltimore for more testing. It's diagnosed as a mild lat teres strain. He suffered a more severe injury years ago in his final tune-up before his big league debut. What is that? Do you hear that?
What is what?
It sounded like a truck just drove through your living room.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I think the fan on my laptop just turned on a bit, but I don't think it's that on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if I mute myself for a second.
Did you just mute yourself? Yeah. It was definitely the fan on your laptop. That was funny, man. I was like, I heard that it was either sound like a guitar riff or like a truck going behind you. But yeah, Grayson Rodriguez, he suffered a more severe injury to the lat area 2 years ago. He missed a full 3 months, and it was the final start before he was getting the call to the big leagues. Mike Elias even alluded to that. The team is optimistic that he can return in September. It is a more mild strain than the last time. If the Orioles... Did the Orioles dodge a bullet here, or is it one of those things where we just really have to wait and see?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say we've dodged a bullet. It's especially concerning considering it's an injury that he's had in the past.
There it is again.
I'm going to move my mic over here. That's annoying.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm surprised it does that often because it's an old laptop. I'm surprised it's never done it on the show before, or at least never.
It sounds like you live by a highway.
Oh, goodness. Well, I apologize for that.
It's
too early to say we've dodged a bullet. I think, with it being an injury that he's had in the past, you definitely want to be more cautious with it. Joe Ryan of the Twins was just put on the injured list with a similar injury that they said it will take weeks to months. So with these things that, it's not an arm injury, which is good, but it's a part of your upper back that kind of keeps everything together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with that in mind, there's a lot of moving parts. It's something that you use a lot on every single pitch that you throw. Mm-hmm. And so, look, you want to be cautious with it. I think you want to make sure that he's back and healthy for the postseason. Obviously, that's the idea. I think even if he is maybe ready in mid-September, maybe just give him one start down the stretch. I don't want to, risk a re-injury. We've seen it with Kyle Bradish had an injury and then he ends up getting hurt. It's just concerning, man. The vibes were kind of good going into that game for the first time in a while. And then Grayson gets hurt and it's like, oh, goodness, he's scratched. Albert Suarez had a great outing in his place, but I just hope he's all right.
Same here. And you mentioned Suarez in emergency duty. 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Just 73 pitches. Of course, we know what happened after that. I've been really, 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 really hard on Brandon Hyde for 2 weeks now. I've been hard on Hyde for 3 seasons now, and I'm going to give him a little bit of a break. We're not going to get into the debacle that was that Tuesday night game. But Suarez looked the part that he needed to look in replacing Grayson Rodriguez last minute. He's now taking Grayson's spot in the rotation moving forward. He gets the ball tomorrow. He's got a 3.66 ERA as a starter. Or, I'm sorry, 3.75 ERA as a starter. What is your level of confidence with Suarez moving forward? Because sometimes he's been really good. And then there are times when he walks 4 and gives up 6 hits and gives up 5 runs in 4 innings. And you're like, what the hell is happening? Can we be confident with Suarez moving forward, especially when Dean Kramer has looked like a bag of crap ever since coming off the IL?
Yeah, I'm not sure confident is the word that I would use to describe how we feel with Albert Suarez taking the mound. I kind of equate it to like every Orioles season from like 2002 through 2010, which is like cautiously optimistic. It's like maybe this is going to be the day we figure it out, the year we turn the corner. Yeah, look, there's a reason this guy hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball since 2017. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. But like you said, he's had outings where he looks really, really good. he had a couple spring outings where he looked fantastic. And I even had a soft toss segment back in February or March that was like, hey, there's this guy, Albert Suarez. We should be keeping an eye out for him. He's pumping 97. He's got a nasty changeup, and, we might have something here. And sure enough, he's had outings in the regular season where it's looked like he was that guy. And so, look, again, I'm not going to say I'd be confident with sending him out there in the postseason series, but we've seen enough from him to know that there is the possibility that he's going to give you that 5 scoreless inning outing that he's done several times this year. He has more scoreless starts than any other pitcher on the team.
You mentioned that.
With that in mind, you never know.
Just want to make this note. Corbin Burnes is going to be a Cy Young finalist. He's second in all of baseball in ERA. He's the obvious ace of the staff. But with Zach Eflin's scoreless outing last night, Corbin Burnes is now, along with Tyler Wells, the only starting pitcher in the rotation to make 3 or more starts without a scoreless outing. John Means only had 4 starts. He had 2 scoreless outings. Tyler Wells has made 3 starts, and he's been on the IL since the end of his 3rd start. So Corbin Burnes is the only pitcher to be in this rotation at any point since the middle of April and make 3 or more starts without a scoreless outing. And I'm not coming at him. It's not an indictment on Burnes at all. It's just one of those freak weird occurrences. He has 2 different outings where he allowed 0 earned runs, but still allowed a run or 2 runs.
Yeah.
And it seems like he gives up at least 1 home run every outing. He'll be cruising, shut out through 5 innings. In the 6th inning, he ends up giving up a home run. And you alluded to that in this show a few months back. Like, we're going to watch Corbin Burnes go out there tonight. He'll throw 5 shutout innings. In the 6th, he'll give up a 3-run homer. And then he did exactly that.
Yeah, he's been a model of consistency, but still searching for that first scoreless outing, which is honestly, it's
well, he's going today
me.
Against what I consider to be a bit of a hapless Rays offense since they got rid of Paredes and Rosarena. Brandon Lau's been tearing the cover off the ball the last couple of weeks, but if he's going to do it, he's got an opportunity. He's also got an opportunity in September. We'll get into that later in the show. Something I'm actually really looking forward to talking about with you. But let's get back to Suarez and Dean Kramer. And the fact of the matter is, and I think this is more an indictment on Dean Kramer than anything, that I am more confident in Suarez on any given night when he goes out than I am in Dean Kramer. With Suarez, I'm like, all right, if he's good, we're going to get 5 or 6 innings of 0 to 2 run ball. If he's bad, it's gonna be evident early. He's going to be missing up. He's going to be missing wild, and it's going to be clear. With Dean Kramer, you were almost certain that at some point in the first 5 innings, he's going to have an inning where he gives up 3 or 4 runs. You just know that he's going to do it. In his last start, I even tweeted out, I said, special thanks to Dean Kramer for letting us know early on in the game to not waste our time. I think the Orioles actually ended up winning. No, they lost that game. That was a game they lost 7-6. But it was like it was Dean Kramer wasting no time, letting us know not to waste our time tonight. He's just been so bad. And I think it's really telling about the season that Dean Kramer's had, especially since coming off the IL, that Albert Suarez hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball since 2017. And when he starts, there's more confidence in me for him than there is for Dean Kramer.
Yeah, and there was a time where Dean was quite reliable. Oh, now my alarm goes off on my phone. Cool. Thank you. Sorry. What a morning, man. I highly don't recommend losing power in the middle of the night. There was a time
when we lose power, I know immediately because we have 2 fans in our room, and the fans go off, and you hear a beep from the alarm clock, and I just wake up. There's no chance I'm sleeping through it.
Yeah. Well, my phone stopped charging, and that's how I realized it. And all the lights were off and everything. And then so I unplugged it because I was like, I don't want any type of power surge to mess with the phone. So then, I woke up this morning and it wasn't in great shape, unfortunately. There was a time, Paul, where Dean Kramer was very reliable. He had an ERA under 4 for a stretch of like 2.5 years. And, there was a feeling of like, he takes the mound. He might not be the best pitcher on the planet, but he's kind of a dog. And we're not seeing that dog in him this year. We're just not. It seems like more, when he's struggling, it's more dejection than anger and desire to turn it around.
You can make the argument that in 2022, for a 6 or 7 week stretch during the summer of 2022, it was the Orioles' best starter. I mean, he had 3.21 ERA that year.
Yeah.
Last year, from the beginning of May through the end of the season, he was 3.55. He won 14 games last year. And this is a guy who you were confident going into the season with him as your number 4, number 5 starter. And now when he's going out there, you're just hoping he gives you 5 innings of 3-run ball. That's what you're hoping for now from Dean Kramer, and hoping that the Orioles offense shows up that day. Otherwise, you're not going to win that ball game.
Yeah. I mean, for a while, we've looked at Kramer as a number 3 type pitching as a 4 or 5. And now we're just hoping that he can please be a serviceable 5. And it kind of sucks, man. I love Dean. I think he's a good pitcher. I think he's got a lot of things to like about him. He just can't seem to harness it all at the same time. And it's tough to watch, but hopefully, he's a veteran now. He's 27, 28 years old. He's got to understand, like, he's got to step up. It's time. There have been so many injuries to the starting rotation. He's been one of the constants.
This is his opportunity. Like you said, so many injuries to this rotation. Yeah. This is your opportunity to step up and be a dude for your team. And he hasn't been able to do that. He's been a liability more than anything else. He gave up those 3 or 4 unearned runs a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "I feel like I'm back." And it's like, yeah, those runs weren't earned, but like, still you gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. Like, that's fine. That's good. We that's what we want from you. But you're not back. You're not back until you go out there and you minimize damage and you let us know, hey, but you can count me to step up to the plate. Count on me to step up to the plate every time I go out there and give you quality innings and keep my team in the ballgame. And right now, he's just not doing that. I mean, you go into the top of the second inning down 3-0. You're already behind the 8 ball with 8 innings left to go. And yeah, it's still early, but now not only are you down 3 runs, but you got to hope that you can scratch and claw and get back into that game, and that he's not going to give anything else up. And the fact remains, he gave up a 2-run homer to Vladdy in the 5th inning. He gets through that inning unscathed, and I'm sorry, it was a 2-run homer. Yeah, did I say 2-run? Yeah. He gets through that inning unscathed. The Orioles have potentially win that ball game. Which I want to come to another. We've been hard enough on Dean. I want to come to another question here for you. First inning, 2 on, no out. Vlad steps to the plate. You have to pitch to him there. You're not going to intentionally walk him to load the bases in the first inning with nobody out. You're not going to do that. When he comes up again in the 5th inning, with a runner on first base in a 1-run ball game, Orioles are down 3-2 at this point. Runner on first, nobody out. You have to pitch to him. You can't walk him and put 2 men on in a 1-run ball game with nobody out. You can't do that. It's up to Dean to make a better pitch. I mean, we have seen how many times Vlad's strength is hitting the outside fastball, the middle up outside fastball that he can drive over the right field fence for Napo Taco. How many times have we seen him do that? He's the hottest hitter on the planet right now. You have to pitch carefully to him, but you cannot put him on base. You cannot walk him intentionally. If he gets a hit or you walk him just because you're trying to nibble, I can live with that because you're trying to not get damage done. But you can't just say, go to first. And all these fans saying, no, you've got to walk him. Why are you pitching to him in the first? Why are you pitching to him in the 5th? Because you've got a lot of ball game left. You cannot put yourself behind the 8 ball that early on by loading the bases with nobody out in the first or putting 2 men on with nobody out in a 1-run ball game in the 5th. Are you one of those people, Ryan, who are saying, no, you can't pitch to him? Or is it, no, this is baseball. You have to get him out?
Yeah, it's situational. It's always situational. If first base is open, then yeah, maybe you pitch around the guy. But you're not going to give them a free runner in scoring position. If it's just a runner on first and it's a 1-run game, 1-run lead you're trying to protect, you're not going to walk him to put the tying run on second as opposed to first base. And the other thing with Vlad, he gets into a lot of double plays.
Mhm.
He gets the ball on the ground a lot. I understand he's been better lately because he's, like you said, he's the hottest hitter on the planet, but he's going to hit the ball on the ground a lot. And there's an opportunity to turn a double play. No, I'm not pitching around him. I'm not putting him on first intentionally. That's for sure. There are
Late in the
situations,
game,
yes,
yeah, absolutely.
where, yeah, sure. But overall, no, absolutely not. I think there's a time and a place to do that. Otherwise, I want to beat their best.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's not even that I want to beat their best. It's not even that. It's that it is just not smart baseball to put multiple runners on base in those situations. Again, if it's the 8th inning of a 1-run ball game and you don't want him to beat you, put him on. If you've got a small lead and there's a runner on first base and Vlad's coming up to the plate, put him on. And the crazy thing is, in those situations, I've seen, and this is when I really started. Oh my God! I said I was going to be easy on him today. This is when I really started to question Brandon Hyde, and we're going back to 2021 at this point. There were multiple times. Actually, we're going back to 2020. There were multiple times when the Orioles faced the Blue Jays, and they were in extra innings, and they had the runner on second base, and Vladdy comes up, and they opted to pitch to him, and he beat him. It happened 2 or 3 times I can think of off the top of my head, with Vladdy specifically in extra innings. Last year, they were playing the Blue Jays, and they pitched to Vladdy, and he flew out. But I said, and Brett Hollander came after me on social media for this. I said, it is a fireable offense to pitch to Vladdy in that situation. Luckily, it didn't hurt you, but you cannot pitch him. The Orioles ended up winning that ball game. And even Brett said it on the air that he couldn't believe that Brandon Hyde was pitching to Vladdy. The whole point of this is usually in those late situations, Hyde's still not walking him then. That's how much this team is against just putting guys on base. Because the fact remains, if you intentionally walk somebody, their on base percentage is 1,000. If you pitch to them, chances are you're going to get them out. You have a better shot at getting them out than them getting a base hit. That's why, all-stars hit 300, right? To me, there's a time and a place, and the first inning and the 5th inning in a close ball game is not the time to walk Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah, I think it's plain and simple. I like how you posed that question. You're like, there are a lot of fans who think this dumb strategic option is the best option. Are you one of them? I was like, no.
Well, that's the thing. I know you're not one of them. I know you're not one of them. Like, I'm not gonna sling an insult. And I did.
I just thought it was funny.
I'm not going to sling an insult just to sling an insult. Like, I know that you're not one of them, and the reason, like, you and I have never discussed this, but I know that you've got good baseball acumen. You know what I mean? So it's like I just know the way your brain works when it comes to baseball, and you're not walking Vladdy in the 1st inning or the 5th inning. Like, you're just not doing that. Anyway, today's show brought to you by Help My Gambling Problem. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Right. Anthony Santander the other day expressed interest in staying with Baltimore for his whole career. He had 25 home runs in 60 games this summer. He's going to hit like 45 home runs this year and driving over 100. You're an idiot and who was adamant. I'm just kidding. No, you were adamant about trading Anthony Santander. I admittedly had my thoughts about it as well, especially when it looked like, look, they've got Kowser coming through. They've got Kerstad coming through. Santander is getting older. We know who he is. He's going to hit about 250. He's going to hit about 30 home runs, which is great. But some of these guys we think can do even better than that. And then he goes out and he puts up a season like this. He's got more home runs than any switch hitter in baseball the last 3 years. 1, is he the most valuable Oriole? And 2, what will he command on the open market? he said he wants to spend his entire career in Baltimore, so the Orioles have to have the leg up there. I don't expect a hometown discount. But what's he going to command on the opening market, and is he the Orioles' most valuable player?
Yeah, I think contractually, I think you're looking at 4 to 5 years for about 18 to 20 million a year. I think the market for a player of his ilk and his skill set is not greater than 20 a year. Now, we've been surprised before. We've gone into off seasons and one player has been signed for a certain dollar amount, and like that sets the market, and it seems completely unrealistic, either too big or too small. I think you're looking right around the 18 to 20 million a year wheelhouse for Santander. Is he the most valuable Oriole? I think it's Corbin Burns, but offensively, yeah, I'm giving it to Santander, especially with the struggles that we've seen from a lot of the key parts of this lineup. And, Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, who a couple months into the season we thought were MVP candidates, and they've taken significant steps back. The offense has gone as Santander has gone. And he's been a huge part. Defensively, he looks spectacular. Offensively, he's hitting a home run just about every other night. Yeah, I think when you look at the team's offense, he's the clock that's kept it ticking, even despite the struggles. And so it's hard to give someone else the most valuable Oriole. I still think it's Corbin Burns, just because of the consistency that he's given us from the mound, and especially the fact that we've dealt with so many injuries and he's been so good as our ace for the entire season, with the exception of maybe one or two not so great starts. But yeah, Santander has been awesome. For 2.5, 3 years, I talked once in a while about Santander.
No, I'm just kidding.
I thought he was a low on base, average defense, Renato Nunez type in terms of his power.
Don't let Tom Latham hear that.
The possibility to hit. I know. I said it for him. The possibility to hit 35 or 40 home runs in a season, but doesn't bring much else. Doesn't walk a ton. Doesn't play spectacular defense. And I thought with Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad and Kyle Stowers waiting in the wings, I thought we had better options who would be more well-rounded players. I was wrong, and boy, am I glad I was wrong. Anthony Santander has been a revelation.
He's been fantastic. Now, let's keep in mind, he didn't hit the first 2 months of the year. Did not hit the first 2 months of the year.
Right.
He is third. He never does, but this year was egregiously bad. This year was the worst start of his career since he's become who we know him to be. Right. Usually he doesn't really hit in April. It takes him a couple weeks into May, and then he gets it going. He didn't get it going until June. He did not get it going until June.
Yeah.
Now, you say he's a guy who might hit 35 to 40 home runs, low on base guy. His slash line is 245, 308. So he's still a low on base guy. And when you look at Anthony Santander, and again, it's because he got off to such a bad start. Let's go. Let me look first. His on-base percentage has gone from 286 in 2021 to 318 in 2022 to 325 in 2023 to 308 in 2024. So this is the first year that it's gone down since 2020. Now, again, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because if you look at what he's done, the way that he started the year as opposed to now, if we look at his numbers from June 1st, when he did hit a home run, from June 1st through last night's ball game, he's at 272, 321, 621 with a 942 OPS. So in 61 games, 272 with a 942 OPS, a 321 on base percentage, 25 home runs, 8 doubles, a triple, and 49 RBI. So that's a guy who you're going to give $18 to $20 million. Now, again, that low on base percentage, those notoriously cold starts to the season, they're going to hurt him when it comes to the negotiating table. But the defense that he plays, I mean, he was a Gold Glove finalist in 2020. And we know the Gold Gloves, I mean, Derek Jeter won like 5 of them, and he's statistically the worst fielding everyday shortstop of all time. So we know that they're more popularity contests than anything else, but nobody knew who the hell Anthony Santander was in 2020. And has anybody on this team played a better right field than him this year? How many balls have you seen go over Kowser's head or go over when he was there at the beginning of the year or go over Kerstad's head or O'Hearn's head, not get caught that you know for a fact Santander would have caught? I think that, he's not exceptionally mobile. He's not fleet of foot, but he catches every ball that he's supposed to, and then a lot of balls that he has no business catching. I think he's a damn good right fielder, and people knock him just because he's a little slow.
Yeah, it's not often pretty, but he makes the plays. And even last night, there was a foul pop-up near the weird like corner angle of the wall by the bullpen, and he laid out and almost got. It would have been a
I was terrified. I saw him running. I'm like, oh, this dude's going to lay out. That corner's right there. I thought he was going to go face first into the corner. I did not want to see it. And
but that shows you that he wants to catch everything.
And if he gets to it, he does.
And
there were a couple times last year where a ball it happened twice, I think, in Cleveland, where his feet slipped out from under him. That's not his fault. It's not his fault that his cleats didn't stick in the ground and they slipped out from under him. But all in all, I think he's a damn good right fielder. I would rather have him in right field than anybody else at this point. For me, Anthony Santander and Corbin Burnes have to be your top two priorities in the offseason. And the Orioles have to figure out a way to get Santander going early. Maybe send that dude to Minnesota in February and just have dudes throw him 98-mile-an-hour fastballs and like breaking off the table sliders or something. But they have to figure out a way to get him going to start the year. But I think that he and Corbin Burnes absolutely have to be the Orioles' top priority heading into this offseason. And honestly, it has to be Burnes first and then Santander. Burnes has to be the first guy. Now, the idea with signing Anthony Santander, there's a lot of dominoes that fall by signing him. One is Heston Kjerstad. 2 is Ryan O'Hearn. 3 is Ryan Mountcastle. 4 is Kobe Mayo. And you're like, Paul, 3 of those guys are corner infielders. Well, if you sign Santander, he's your everyday right fielder for the next 4 or 5 years. He'll DH occasionally to get him off his feet. Kjerstad, you're not going to play him in left field, right? We saw what that looks like.
Not a Cannon Yards.
You're nervous to play him in the outfield in general, which means he's your DH. Well, Ryan O'Hearn has a team option for next year, and he's been a very consistent hitter for the team this year. Ryan Mountcastle is your everyday first baseman for the most part. And Kobe Mayo, we know just from watching him play third base at the major league level, he's going to first base or DH. So now the question is, unless they make him a left fielder, if they start getting him reps, I think they will get him reps in spring training in the outfield next year. Who stays, who goes? I'll tell you right now, I think after this year, Ryan Mountcastle's gone. I just don't see how he fits on this roster with Kjerstad, O'Hearn, Mayo, and Santander. I think Mountcastle's traded in the offseason. I think the Orioles keep O'Hearn. Don't know what the hell they do with Kjerstad. These dominoes are going to fall by signing Santander if the Orioles are able to do it. So tell me, Ryan, who stays, who goes?
I wish I could tell you. It's an insane logjam. And to add insult to injury, literally and figuratively, the Orioles go out and trade for Eloy Jimenez, who is a corner outfield, but please no DH at all times type player. And
he's tearing the cover off the ball. 11 for 21 since coming to the Orioles.
He's been fantastic. And for me, I don't know if that says something about how the Orioles view Heston Kjerstad. It's tough to say. He looked excellent for a stretch, and then he takes 97 off the back of the head, goes 2 for 18 after coming back from injury. Now he's back on the concussion IL. My cat is relentless. She's adorable. I love her, but she's a little much. there's too many guys who play the same positions, right? And we kind of knew that coming into this year. A lot of corner outfield types, a lot of first base DHs. It breaks my heart, but I think I agree that Mounty's probably gone. And the defensive drop off at first base from Mountcastle to O'Hearn is pretty significant in my opinion. Now we've seen Mountcastle miss a few picks that he typically makes, especially with a couple of those Gunnar Henderson throwing errors. I think Holiday had one. I think Mayo had one where plays that Mountcastle should be making, and he wasn't. But with that in mind, he's one of your few right-handed bats. I don't know, man. I'm trying to justify keeping Mountcastle because I really like the guy, but I'm not sure I can do it.
I like Mountcastle too, and I just remember him in 2019 winning a AAA MVP, and then coming up in 2020, and we were like, "Where's Mountcastle? Why isn't he here?" He comes up He comes up in August, and he hits 333, right? And he hits 2 home runs against Toronto and Buffalo, and you're like, "Oh my God, this guy's here." And then the next year, the average goes down, but he hits 33 home runs. Has a 3-homer game against Boston in a game that the Orioles lost. They had no business. But again, it was 2021, right? Then 21 home runs. Then 18 home runs. This year, he's on pace for 17. I love Ryan Mountcastle, but he's the streakiest hitter on the team. He hasn't hit for the power that we were expecting from him. He hit at every level throughout the minor leagues, and now he just seems like a guy. And he got off to a really, really great start this year, batting average-wise, on base percentage-wise. I think he led the team in walks in April. He was looking really good, and I can take him sacrificing the power to hit for better average this year, but now he's not doing either. Right. And when he does get hot, it's these flares. When he does get hot, his base hits are these flares to right field. He's not driving the ball with any kind of consistency. He's got 2 home runs since the end of June. I like Ryan Mountcastle, but at a certain point, and Stan, all the credit in the world to Stan the Fan Charles, who is the founder of this show, graciously hired me as his producer and handed the show off to me in the COVID year. And he and I butted heads about this. I always believed in Mountcastle, and he was like, I just don't think he's that guy. And Stan's right. Stan has been proven right. At a certain point, you are who you are, and Ryan Mountcastle he is who he is. I like the guy. I think he's a fine player, but he's not that middle of the order bat that the Orioles or any of us expected him to be. And I just think that he is part of a package in the offseason to get maybe another pitcher, or maybe I don't know what he could be part of a package of, but I wouldn't be surprised to see he and Heston Kjerstad traded in this offseason, because if you look at it, there's just not a fit for either one of them on the roster. And with Kjerstad, that sucks, because before he took and it's not that I don't believe in him. I just think that the Orioles, how can you look at this roster and say, well, we're going to keep Mayo, O'Hearn, Santander, and Mountcastle, and Kjerstad? It just doesn't add up. 2 of those guys can't be here. And I think that those 2 guys who were squeezed out, which also sucks because Ryan O'Hearn, he's going to be 32 next year.
Yeah.
But he's a better major league hitter right now than Kjerstad and Mountcastle. Now, that's right now. I've said a lot of right now things over the year that have been proven false at some point, specifically about O'Hearn. I know I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. I just don't know how you fit all of those guys on the roster together. Yeah,
it's going to be tough. I mean, I almost feel like one of Kjerstad or Mayo is going to be on the way out. I really hope it's neither of them, man. They both just have all the talent in the world, but there's so many guys who do the same thing, like we talked about. And, I want Mountcastle to be the guy. I wanted him to be our cornerstone first baseman for a decade, and he's seemingly regressed just about every year. Now, I don't know if it has anything to do with the left field wall. I don't know if that's in his head, if it's changed his approach to the plate, but he just hasn't been able to put together a consistent run of really good baseball in a few years. And I'm not sure he's ever going to hit 33 homers again.
But with that wall,
I'm not sure he's ever going to
with
hit.
that wall moved in, with the wall moved
with the
back,
wall,
he's not going to hit 33 home runs. He could do it someplace else.
Yeah. I'm not sure he'll hit 25 again. And it's tough, man. This guy was our top hitting prospect back in 16, 17, 18, those years back there. He and Austin Hayes were like the
Austin Hayes is back on the IL.
Now Hayes is gone, and Mountcastle, and now Mountcastle might be out the door with him. It breaks my heart a little bit, man. But Ryan O'Hearn's been so good. We didn't expect Ryan O'Hearn to kick Mountcastle out of the job, but sure enough, he's played well enough too. And now you got Kjerstad and Mayo, who are both ready. Both might at some point command reps at first base, and you got to clear space somehow.
It's something we're definitely be monitoring, and I think we said it all. I said it all for about 12 minutes. So,
no, it's good. It's so tough to predict.
I would love nothing more than to see Ryan Mountcastle come out next year in an Orioles uniform and hit 280 with 26 home runs, 87 RBIs, and play a good first base. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. I think he has a tendency to fool us. He gets stupid hot and then just falls off a cliff for 3 weeks. You can't have that on your. When there's other guys who do something similar and they're either younger or a little bit better than you, that there's just not a spot. There's just not a spot. Enough time on that. If you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Ravens linebacker Trenton Simpson, Maryland basketball legend Lonnie Baxter, and baseball analyst Cameron Maben, Buck Martinez, and Ben Verlander, you can find all those chats and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature right now at PressBoxOnline.com. And watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on PressBoxOnline.com/radio or right here on Facebook and YouTube. Brian, do you have anything for Soft Toss today?
My alarm was for 9:20. I typically write it in the morning, so all good.
Let's get into Kobe Mayo just a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on it. But Kobe Mayo, he got the call last week. You took him and take to rake with him actually on the roster this time. We're gonna get into take to rake a little bit later. But Kobe Mayo off to an 0-for-13 start. 2 walks, which came in his first game. 8 strikeouts in those 13 at-bats. How long is his leash, and how much does this prove how big the gap really is from AAA to the majors?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty long leash, but I think that's more based on necessity than anything else. He's your backup infielder right now. Arias has gotten the start the last couple nights, but Mayo's been available off the bench. Look, Norby's out the door. Mateo's on the injured list. Jordan Westberg's on the injured list. Jackson Holliday's here, and he's playing every day, and there's still space for Mayo on the active roster. I don't think he's going back down anytime soon. Again, that's because of necessity. We've seen guys like Holliday and like Colton Cowser and like Grayson Rodriguez, to name a few, come up to the big leagues, struggle pretty badly, get sent back to AAA, work some things out, and then come up and dominate.
God, I miss Kyle Bradish.
There are plenty of.
God, dude, I don't even like to say his name. Oh my God, I love Kyle Bradish. Anyway, go ahead.
I know, I'm right there with you. So look, I think that a AAA reset could be good for the guy. I don't think it's happening right now, unless you want to bring Taran Vavra up to be your utility guy or a Nick Maton type. I don't even know who else is AAA right now. But look, the fact of the matter is, he's had 12 ABs,
15 plate appearances, 13 at-bats.
Yeah, walked a couple times in his first game, struck out a bunch since then. Yeah. So look, that's way too small of a sample size for fans to beg for him to be sent back down. With that said, they've kind of got a point because of these other examples that we just brought up. Guys who came up, struggled, went back down, figured it out, came back up, dominated. And Mayo has a chance to be one of those guys too. But because Westberg's on the IL and because Mateo's on the IL, because Connor Norby was shipped off to Miami, kind of need another infielder on the roster. And Mayo right now is that guy. If he's going to start over Arias, or if Arias is going to start over him, one way or the other, you need a backup infielder. And so with that in mind, the leash is pretty long. The gap between AAA to the majors is massive, and we've talked about it all year long. And it's not just like Jackson Chourio is a name that comes to mind, a guy who came up with the Brewers, had all the tools in the world, struggled mightily for a while, and the last couple months he's got like a 9-something OPS, and he's really figured it out. There are plenty of opportunities around Major League Baseball, but we've seen the pitching at AAA just isn't up to standard because the guys who are too good for AAA are in the majors. And the guys who aren't good enough for the majors are in AA, especially left-handed pitching. There are no good lefties in AAA. Very, very few, if any. And so you look at that, and yeah, it's a massive gap. And we've seen players come up and have trouble bridging that gap. And Mayo looks like another example. With that in mind, like I said, Paul, 15 plate appearances, way too small of a sample size to declare the guy a bust or a candidate for an option at this point. Let one ball hit the grass and then see how it picks up. And I think Mayo's got all the talent in the world to be a 40, 45 homer guy, a 270 hitter, and give him some time to adjust. It's a massive gap, but everybody.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe DH, to kind of get his head around himself a little bit. I don't know that they're going to do that right now with Eloy Jimenez swinging it so well, but at the same time, you don't want to sit him now 3 games in a row. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get it. And I don't know that they want him playing third base on the turf there. That is, it's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough. He's got to get into the game today. I imagine that he'll play third base today. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Want to remind you that today's show brought to you by the Pressbox print issue. Only a few days left to pick up the current issue of Pressbox with Governor Wes Moore on the cover. Then coming this Thursday, a brand new print issue of Pressbox will be available with Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton gracing the cover. I'm picking him for Defensive Player of the Year. That dude is nasty. And lots of local college football and college soccer coverage inside. So pick up the Wes Moore issue now before it's gone. You can find that print issue of Pressbox all throughout the region, including at 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Ryan, will you do me a favor? When I wrote the notes, the Rays hadn't announced their starter for today. Now they have. Will you read the AL East wrap-up while I put this in the notes? Thank you.
Absolutely. The Rangers Yankees looks like it.
It was postponed. They're playing the doubleheader today. So just say that.
Oh, duh. That's why it's one line. Yeah, Rangers and Yankees postponed. They got a doubleheader today. It's the Yankees' second doubleheader this week. They've had a lot of rain up that way. George Springer led off the bottom of the first with his 14th home run of the season, and the Jays never looked back, getting 3 hits apiece from Spencer Horwitz and Ernie Clement to back 7 brilliant innings of 1-run ball from Jose Barrios as the Jays took down the A's 3-1. Former Orioles farmhand and A's number 4 prospect Darryl Hernaiz hit his first career home run to provide the lone run for the Oakland /Sacramento/Vegas A's. Shout out Hernaiz, man. Really happy for him. Jose Altuve and Yainer Diaz homered, the latter collecting 2 RBI to set a new career high with 61, and the Astros rocked the Boston bullpen for 7 runs on 12 hits in just 3 innings to spoil Tanner Houck's 6 innings of 1-run ball as Houston doubled up the Red Sox. Final score 8-4.
Thank you, Ryan. Very well done. If I had been reading it, I would have said A's number 4 prospect Darryl Hernaiz hit his first career home run to provide the lone run for the little what is that? Is that iambic pentameter or is that like I don't know.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
There's so many like phrases like that I know that
every time I say that I think of that commercial, especially since I have a baby now who just turned 7 months yesterday. This sweet little girl. But do you remember that commercial where it's the mom, she's baby talking to her baby the entire episode, and then she finally gets time to herself with her husband. They're at the theater, And like she said, "Oh, you were just a silly Willy Lily." She's talking to the baby that whole time. And then in the theater, she turns to her husband. She goes, "I really like his use of iambic pentameter. Whammeter." Do you remember this commercial? You may have been just a young buck when that commercial came out. But I remember it. Maybe. And every time I hear that, that's what I think of, is that commercial. Anyway.
His first career home run to provide the loan. Yeah, that's good. And I'll admit, once in a while, I write something like that as well. I don't know if it's iambic pentameter or onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia is a word that is spelled the same. No, that's a palindrome. Onomatopoeia is a word that sounds like the sound that it makes, like pop.
Oh, that's right.
Or
Aaron, Earn, and Iron Earn.
No, I remember that commercial.
Grammar.
Aaron, Earn, Iron, Earn. What am I looking at here? I'm trying to find. What is happening? What is happening here? No, I got that. I'm trying to find one last thing on Rasmussen, since he's starting today.
I thought you were over there Googling iambic pentameter or something.
Okay, I got it. Let's get into this. As for today's game, Corbin Burnes takes the mound looking to bounce back after his worst start of the season. Burnes is 12-4 with a 2.63 ERA and 106 WHIP in 23 starts. It was his worst start, but he picked up the win, and it tied a career high with his 12th victory. Anyway, Burnes has 12 wins. Burnes' 12 wins have him in a three-way tie for second most in baseball. His 2.63 ERA is second only to Tarek Skubal, and his 143 2/3 innings pitched are fourth most. In his last outing, Burnes had a season low with 5 innings pitched, allowing 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, while striking out 4, while striking out 4 and walking 1. Burnes has made 1 start versus Tampa Bay this season. It was his lone career start against them, and it was a gem. Back on June 10th, he went 7 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 unearned runs while walking 1 and striking out 6. The Rays counter with right-handed pitcher Drew Rasmussen. It is 2 consecutive starts for Tampa Bay today and tomorrow with guys who are returning from Tommy John surgery. Rasmussen is making just his second appearance in his first start of the season since having Tommy John surgery last season. In his lone appearance versus St. Louis back on August the 7th, he went 2 innings of hitless, scoreless ball while striking out 3. Rasmussen, of course, burst onto the scene with Tampa Bay in 2022 as a full-time starter when he went 11-7 with a 2.84 ERA, striking out 125 batters while allowing just 121 hits, pitching to a 1.041 WHIP in 146 innings. For his career against Baltimore, he is 2-0 in 6 games, 4 starts with a 2.13 ERA. In 25 1/3 innings pitched, he's allowed 16 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned, with 5 walks and 20 strikeouts in those 25 1/3 innings. And his WHIP is .829 versus Baltimore.
Didn't he take a no-hitter, a perfect game even into the 9th against us a couple years ago?
I think he did. Let me click on this because this will probably tell us. I'm
pretty sure like Mateo broke up a perfect game in
2022
against him. I could be wrong. I think it was in 22. I was fishing that morning, so I wasn't watching the game, but I was following it. I was out on a boat.
Let's see. So versus Baltimore, he started the first game of the year. It was the second game of the season, but he started, went 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs against Baltimore. Then he faced off against them on July 27th, 4 2/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. Yeah, it was August 14th in a 4-1 win over the Orioles. 8 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. I want to look at this box score and see if you were right. If you remember this, my dad remembers like random like Peyton Manning starts where he's like, I remember this game on Monday Night
Yeah.
Football when Peyton Manning went 37 for 49 with 372 yards and 5 touchdowns. It was amazing. I'm like, how the? And then I look it up. I'm like, oh my god, he's exactly right. I guess that's why he's. I'm like,
My
I
dad's
guess
the exact
that's
same
why
way.
he's a doctor.
It's insane.
Like to have that kind of brain power. People say that I have that ability, not like my dad. Like I remember random stats. Like I remember
Same
that what's his name? Nolan Reimold hit 275 with 15 home runs and 45 RBIs his rookie year. Like I remember that for some reason. And if you look that up, it's almost spot on, I'm pretty sure. So let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had 8 innings of no hit ball. And then Jorge Mateo led off the top of the 9th with a double.
Wasn't it with a? Okay, I was gonna say triple, but
yeah, it was a double. Then Taron Vavra pinch hit. He grounded out, sent Mateo to third base. Then Brett Phillips was hitting. Wild pitch, Mateo scores, and then Phillips struck out, and then Jason Adam replaced Drew Rasmussen after that. And he got Cedric and Adley to strike out. Cats are so weird, man.
So weird. Dude, I know. I had Bean on my lap for like 5 minutes of the show. She was getting tangled up in my mic and my headphones.
So what do we think a possible lineup against right-handed pitcher Drew Rasmussen is? I think you're going to see now, Colin Cowser, do you think that maybe he gets a day off? He has been favoring that right wrist a lot. And yeah, he hit the leadoff homer yesterday, but he went 1 for 5. We've seen him grimacing for games on end now on some swings. Do you think that maybe they get him a day off today?
I can see it. Especially if they're trying to work a couple other guys into the lineup. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks now where it seems like he'll take a swing and it bothers something. He rolls over something, and then he's in the outfield and he's doing his little flexing thing, and it's a little concerning, man. I mean, luckily it's something that clearly has been bothering him for a while, and he's been able to play through and play through it pretty well. But yeah, maybe he needs a little bit of a rest.
Even still, I don't think he's getting it. Today's lineup, I think you're going to see Cowser leading off, playing center field. You know what? No, I'm gonna switch this up. Well, I didn't. This is last week's lineup, but I'm gonna put Mullins down here in center field. I'm gonna put Cowser in left field. So I think Cowser's gonna lead off and play left field. Santander batting second, playing right field. Gunnar Henderson playing shortstop and batting third. I'm gonna have O'Hearn playing first base against the righty.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because
Rutschman's going to catch today and bat fifth. I don't think you can take Jimenez out of the lineup. I don't think you can take him out of the lineup. He's good. Maybe Rutschman does go down to 6. Mullins in center field. And I think Mayo's going to play third base and Holiday's going to play second base. And do they give Mountcastle? Did Mountcastle play last night? I can't remember.
I can't remember. No, O'Hearn was at first. So if Mountcastle played, I'm pretty sure he did not.
Are they going to give Mountcastle 2 days off? No, I have no idea what this lineup's going to look like. And again, this is the problem that you have when you have basically 4 DHs on your team. You know, this is the problem you face. How you play Jimenez and O'Hearn and Mayo and Mountcastle and Santander in the same lineup. How do you do that? This is the problem that you're facing. And I have to get out here in about 10 minutes, so we don't have time to get into it. But another question with the whole Santander signing, if Jimenez continues to hit, he's got 2 option years after this. Do you pick up the option on Jimenez, or do you pick up the option and trade him?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. What the hell is going on?
I think we reserve judgment on Jimenez for another couple months. He's having a Tim Beckham-esque start to his Orioles career.
Tim Beckham has ever been.
Well, I agree, but we don't know how long it's going to continue. I think there's way more upside with Jimenez, which is weird to say because Tim Beckham was the number 1 overall draft pick. But Jimenez, I think, is more toolsy and just absolutely smokes the baseball when he
barrels up the ball. Like his average exit velocity has to be like 110. some of these base hits that he gets, man, that, like they're in the outfield before you can even blink.
Yeah, but like we saw Tim Beckham do this. We saw Aaron Hicks do this. So who knows how long he's going to keep it up? I think it's too early to even consider picking up his option.
Tim
over
Beckham is just going
someone
to
like
haunt our
Santander.
memories forever. What's on tap? The Orioles will wrap up their 3-game series and 10-game road trip in Tampa Bay on Sunday with Albert Suarez taking on Jeffrey Springs. Suarez has taken over Grayson Rodriguez's slot in the rotation after Grayson was a late scratch in Toronto with what turned out to be a mild right lat strain, which has placed him on the 15-day IL. Suarez was spectacular after being thrust into emergency duty, tossing 5 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits and 2 walks while striking out 6 on 73 pitches. On the season, Suarez is 5-4 with a 3.66 ERA. In 15 starts, he is 4-4 with a 3.75 ERA, but a 1.403 WHIP, and that don't play. The Rays will counter with Jeffrey Springs, who is 0-1 with a 6.23 ERA. Springs will be making just his 3rd start since returning from Tommy John surgery. He became a full-time starter in 2022, accumulating a 9-5 record with a dazzling 2.46 ERA. He was off to an impressive start in 2023, spending 6 no-hit innings with 12 Ks in his first start, followed by 7 shutout innings with 7 Ks in his second start before he was removed 3 innings into his 3rd outing with an elbow injury that resulted in Tommy John surgery. All in all, Springs has faced the Orioles 12 times in his career, making just 2 starts in those 12 appearances. He is 3-0 with a 2.45 ERA and 30 Ks in 22 innings pitched against Baltimore. He has made just 2 starts versus Baltimore, which both came in 2022, the first of which he allowed just 1 hit with 7 Ks and 5 2/3 shutout innings of a 6-1 Rays victory. The second start didn't go as well as he lasted just 4 1/3 innings, allowing 4 runs on 7 hits. After an off day, Monday, the O's returned home for 2 with the Nationals before a big 4-game series with the wildcard hopeful Red Sox. Ryan, this is what I was looking forward to talking to you about. And we have to do this quickly because I really do. I have to go like in the next 10 minutes. The Orioles have a daunting end to August, but a softer beginning to April. They have, including last night, they have 15 of 17 games against teams above 500 to end the month. Then September, however, starts off with 18 of 21 games against teams that are a minimum of 3 games out of playoff contention, including 12 games against the Rockies, White Sox, and Tigers. I mentioned Corbin Burns not having a scoreless outing. He has a great opportunity today, and then in some of those games again in September to have that scoreless outing. As tough as June, July, and August have been, September gives the Orioles a real chance to cement their playoff chances. And Ryan, with Danny Coulombe, Grayson Rodriguez, and potentially Jordan Westburg, all of them potentially returning in the final month of the season, do the Orioles have a legitimate chance to get hot at the right time and make a serious run into October? And keep in mind, again, 18 of their first 21 games are against teams that are right at or below 500. The Orioles, before they get to the end of that, may be able to clinch a playoff spot. And if they clinch a playoff spot, they get healthy. Do they have a chance to pull the Texas Rangers and get hot at the right time and make a run in the postseason, especially if they have a healthy Burns, a healthy Eflin, and a returning healthy Grayson Rodriguez, plus Danny Coulombe coming back in that bullpen and Jordan Westburg solidifying third base? I was telling my buddy the other day, I think the season's done. But then I look at their schedule and what they could have coming back. I'm not so sure that they don't have a run in them.
Yeah, and I think people underestimate the importance of Danny Coulombe. He's been massive out of the bullpen, and now we're stuck with Gregory Soto as one of our lefties. Cianel Perez has been struggling. Aiken's been optioned. He's back up with Rodriguez going on the shelf. But Danny Coulombe is your solid lefty out of the bullpen. He's the guy. And if he's able to come back in September like we're expecting him to, that's going to be absolutely massive for this bullpen. Grayson Rodriguez, obviously, we know what he means to the team and his importance. Jordan Westburg as well. He was, I believe, second on the team in WAR when he got hurt. And just a very, very solid. We know how much you love Jordan Westburg. I'm the same way. Just a fantastic all-around player, a glue guy, I would call him in the lineup and defensively. So yeah, look, we've seen what October is all about. It's about getting hot at the right time. We sure as hell know that it's not about who wins 100 games. We saw that last year. The 3 teams that went into the postseason with 100 wins won a combined 1 playoff game. The Braves, Dodgers, and Orioles won a combined 1 postseason game last year, which is insane. And I think the Rays that won 99 games, and they got
Yeah.
swept in the wild card round, didn't they?
The 4 best records in
so,
baseball
look,
won
it's
one game.
Yeah, it's about getting hot at the right time. And with a few key guys coming back from injury, the Orioles are certainly a candidate for that. And I understand why fans think that, and I don't mean to generalize all fans, but I understand why fans think that the season is over with the injury to Grayson Rodriguez, and now Corbin Burns is maybe your only reliable starter. Well, Zach Eflin looks pretty darn good, and the Orioles are getting a couple key pieces back later in the season. And all you have to do is catch fire at the right time and have a few things fall your way. And just about any team in baseball is a candidate for that. So it's way too early to say that the Orioles season is over.
I was thinking about the Grayson Rodriguez injury, and then I look at the schedule. I think about who's coming back, and it's like, you know what? The season is far from over. They're playing a lot better baseball recently. The last game in Toronto notwithstanding, they're playing a lot better baseball recently. I think that, and I said last week, I think this team's about to turn a corner. I think they've got to run in them. They've got to get through this gauntlet to end August. But then after that, they've got an opportunity to play some good baseball down the stretch and really cement their positioning in the playoffs and an opportunity to make a decent run. Speaking of Jordan Westburg real quick, he is optimistic that he'll be back in September, but the Orioles still went out and signed Gene Segura to a minor league deal, who, as far as I can tell, Ryan, hasn't played baseball anywhere since last July. Real quick, your thoughts on Gene Segura. Used to be a good hitter, hit .218 for the Marlins last year and hasn't played professional ball since.
Yeah, my only thought on Gene Segura is I hope we don't see him.
I mean, I've always liked him, but he's been on his couch for over a year now. He's going to go to the minor leagues and play for. I mean, maybe he's been playing like I don't know, some kind of like pickup league or something like that, or like I play on Sundays. I don't know what he's been doing, but hopefully,
he's been playing.
He's just a depth at this point, and we know that. All right, we're just a few weeks away from the start of high school sports season. County Sports Zone will be reporting every score from every event with every school at every level throughout the state, all academic year long. That's coming soon at countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. For the second straight week, Ryan, take the rake, not even close. You took Kobe Mayo. I took Jackson Holiday. I put in the notes, unless Mayo goes 4 for 4 with 4 home runs and 10 RBI Friday, Paul wins in the landslide. He didn't even play.
We need to reword that a little bit. For the second week in a row, not even close, but it was me last week who came out on top.
Yes.
This week,
and that's the thing. Jackson Holiday ended this week 0 for 8. But for the week, he hit 273, 304, 727 with a 1032 OPS, a double, 3 home runs, 6 ribeye stakes, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. On base percentage lower than you'd expect, but that'll keep getting better for him. Batting average on balls in play 231, so I think he's hitting some bad luck. He's hit some balls hard, but right at some guys too, like the double.
Yeah, he's hitting everything.
He hit the double play ball that they hit last night. He hit it right at the shortstop at like 100 miles an hour. But Jackson Holiday gets me the win. The updated standings. I have 7 wins. Ryan has 5, and there are 3 ties. We want to get to some of these comments before I got a bolt. So we're just going to fly through these.
Are we picking guys real quick?
Duh.
I'll do it in the notes.
I've got to go, Gunnar. I have to believe. I know he's on like an 0 for 16 stretch or 0 for 15. This team goes as Gunnar goes. He has got to get hot, and it's been far too long that he has not been hot. He's been hitting, but a lot of singles. Gunnar's got to get going. I'm just like I tried to 2 weeks ago with Adley. I'm manifesting a hot streak from Gunnar. You take Jackson Holiday.
I take Jackson Holiday. I don't think I've taken him before, and I think now's as good a time as
I could see maybe Jackson getting the day off today with Arias playing second base. And
although it's a lefty on the mound tomorrow in Jeffrey Springs, so I think it's more like.
I think you could see Arias at third with the lefty going tomorrow. I think you could see Arias at third, Jackson at second, Mayo DH, O'Hearn at first base. Give Mountcastle another day off, and then let him face the lefty tomorrow. I think we could see that.
We just saw Mullins get back-to-back nights off. It wouldn't be completely out of the ordinary for Mountcastle to follow suit.
All right. Comments. Daniel Pitts, I just assume we are going to lose every time Kramer pitches. I'm like, every time Kramer takes the mound, I'm like 75% sure he's going to suck. But there's that 25% where I'm like, maybe this is when Kramer gets back to being the Dean Kramer of the previous 2 seasons.
And you know what's funny is that 25% is louder than the 75%. Like I always have, there's always that feeling deep inside me. It's like, dude, Kramer, like, because I still think the guy's a dog. I
think there's something going on in his head. I don't know that it's an arm issue. I know he had the tricep issue, but I think that I don't know that he has confidence yet when he goes out there. Randall says, O's failed to bring in another top of rotation starter and will go home early again. God, I hope not. I think Zach Eflin he's looked like a top of the rotation starter. I don't know that he is, but he's looked like a top of the rotation starter. If Grayson gets healthy, and you know what? Trevor Rogers was really bad, and then he was mediocre. Let's see if he continues progression and see where he falls with this rotation. But I'm not going to give up on the Orioles rotation right now.
Yeah, it's too early for that, especially if we are able to get Grayson back this season.
Daniel Pitts, I hope it's not true, but I get a feeling we signed J.D. Davis and/or Gene Segura to potentially replace Mayo, and they plan to send him down, let Mayo figure it out. Those guys are going to have to, hit the ground running in AAA for them to be brought up and Mayo sent back. I think that
Yeah. Although J.D. Davis was hitting cleanup for the Yankees a month ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is hilarious. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't see them as Mayo replacements. I just see
Mayo
them
just
as
needs
insurance.
He just needs one. He needs one hard hit ball to fall, and I think you'll see him get going. He's too good at him. And it, again, proves how big the gap is from AAA to the major leagues. And we've seen this happen. We saw it with Gunnar. We saw it with Kowser. We saw it with Holiday. I'm not surprised to see it with Mayo. We've got to give him time, and hopefully Hyde finds a way to get him in the lineup today. Yeah. Daniel says, I disagree about not walking Guerrero. Who else are you afraid of in that Toronto lineup? Spencer Horwitz has been tearing the cover off the ball.
And
you don't Guerrero, let the opposing team's best player beat you. You don't walk anybody to load the bases with no outs in the first, and you don't walk somebody in a one-run game in the 5th inning to put 2 on and nobody out. You don't when you're trailing by 1. You don't do it. I'm sorry to get irritated. I'm not walking Aaron freaking Judge in those situations. So I'm certainly not walking Vladdy. Yeah.
Later in the game, close game, first base open, sure. Even if first base isn't open, it depends on the situation. Yeah, there's a time and a place. Absolutely.
Buck walking Barry Bonds in the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded, 2 down, and his team up by 2. I agree with that, and it worked. Walking Guerrero in the 1st inning to load the bases, nobody out, and in the 5th inning to put 2 on with nobody out when you're trailing by 1, you're not walking there. It's bad baseball, and I don't believe there's a manager in baseball that does that. I just don't. Yeah. Randall says the Israel conflict has Kramer's focus out of whack. I don't think that's true. I think it was true in the playoffs, but if that were the case, he wouldn't have pitched as well as he did at the beginning of the year. I don't think that's true. I think maybe potentially his arm might still be bothering him, but I don't think he'd be out there if that was the case. I think more than anything, it's a lack of confidence. I just don't think he's confident right now. And the one time he pitched well, his defense let him down in a multitude of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that's it.
Yeah,
I just don't.
Adit says Santander through the 4 years, 72 to 88 million. I think he wants 4 to 5. I think 4 is. Yeah, but I think that the numbers are spot on. That's 18.
But again, we've seen the market do weird things before. It's
although 3 years at 72 is 24 million, and 4 years at 22. 4 years at 88 is 22 million. I think it's 18 to 22 million. I think is an accurate range. Daniel says Santander is not the long-term team plans. I really don't think we sign him to a long-term contract. If we offer him a qualifying offer, it would be a 1-year contract of around 20 million. If he rejected it and signed somewhere else, we get a draft pick. That could be a likely scenario, but I don't. And he's 29, right? So he's going to be 30 next year. It makes sense. But and I don't know that and again, the slow starts in April. I mean, how many home runs could he have if he got off to a mediocre start in April and May? I mean, he might already have 40, 45 home runs at this point if he had just done, been normal Anthony Santander. What he's been doing the last few months has been outrageous. But I don't know. We'll see. It'll be an interesting. I think this offseason is going to be interesting anyway, but especially with Santander.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there goes your fan again. It sounds like I'm wondering if the fans can hear it, if the listeners can hear it as well, or if it's just me.
I don't know. It's a pretty normal thing with this laptop, but I don't know. It either has never gone off on the show before, or it's just really loud today for some reason.
Dan goes on to say, "This season isn't. I see this season as an aberration for Santander. It's not who he is going to be going forward. We literally just saw this with Mullins and his All-Star season." I mean, Mullins did that. That was the first time Mullins had ever done it. Santander hit 61 home runs the last 2 years coming into this year, which led all switch hitters in baseball. Like, this isn't the first time we've seen. Yeah, he's showing more power than ever, but it's not like he hasn't put up a 28 and a 33 homer season already. Like,
obviously it's a little bit of an aberration considering he's on pace for like 45, but this is what he does. He doesn't get on base a ton, but he hits for very good power. He plays very solid defense. I don't think comparing to Mullins is fair.
Wall Street Window says, we are seeing how important Mateo is for this team. With him gone, that is the start of Henderson throwing errors. The X factor gone hurts defense, and then the pitching suffers. I mean, the second baseman has nothing to do with the shortstop's throwing errors, and Gunner's righted the ship the last week. So I disagree with that. I maybe the defense at second base, but it's not like he was getting on base before he hurt his arm, and he stole 3 bases since June 1st. So, like, the bat just was back to normal Jorge Mateo. So I don't think that the Orioles miss him in any way aside from his defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's value if you use him properly, but yeah, I don't think there's any correlation.
And I don't think the Mateo is an everyday player, and the Orioles have tried to make him that for 3 years. Daniel says, is there any chance you pick up Jimenez's option? It seems unlikely, but he's been so good. Could you see us declining his option, re-signing him for a lower amount? He seems to love playing in Baltimore. I don't think Jimenez is here after this year. If I'm just, my gut feeling says Jimenez is not here next year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. He's had 21 at-bats, so it's too early to make that call.
Daniel says, I agree, Paul, that there will be no spot for Mountcastle on this team next year. It seems like a mistake to not trade him at the deadline for a serviceable reliever. Maybe, but you also have to think about the clubhouse chemistry and how much those guys love him. He's a part of that core group along with Adley and Gunner and Colton. And he's a veteran. Like, I don't think there's a spot for him, but there is a role for him on this team right now, and I understand why they didn't trade him.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah. Randall says Burns is the O's most valuable player. I get that, and I agree. And Ryan, you said this earlier, and I didn't get a chance to say this, but it's hard for me to accept a starting pitcher as the most valuable because they play every fifth game.
Sure.
And a guy like Gunner or Santander impacts your lineup every day. Impacts your team every day. Daniel says, I worry about trading Kershaw. I feel like he could be a 40 home run a year hitter on a cheap contract. He could be, but will he be? And that's what the Orioles. It's like that's why they're prospects. Could he be? And I understand. Santander is going to be 30. O'Hearn's going to be 32. Mountcastle's pushing 30. And Kerstad's 20. I mean, Kerstad's not getting younger. He's, 25, 20? He'll be 26?
20. I believe he's 24.
Yeah.
But
he's not getting younger, but he's younger than those guys. It's like I said, this offseason is going to be incredibly interesting. Orioles still got a shot. Wall Street Window says Orioles still got a shot in the playoffs because of Eflin being on the team now, even if G-Rod can't play by then. And we saw the Nationals with an all-time worst bullpen in 2019. At that point, it was the worst bullpen in the history of baseball. And they went on to win a World Series because they had 3 really good starters, and then they had but they also, those guys, when they didn't start in the series, were coming out of the bullpen. And if the Orioles can get 2 good starts, and then maybe they have a Trevor Rogers give you 5 innings of 2-run ball, or Suarez give you 5 innings of 2-run ball, and then they can turn it over to maybe Kramer coming out of the bullpen. Coulom's back healthy. Sir Anthony Dominguez has looked really good since coming over here. They can make a run. You don't need your start. And most of the time, you don't see your starters getting into the 6th and 7th inning in the playoffs anyway. I hate that's the change that's happened in baseball, but they don't. There is a path to win a World Series with just 2 really good starters. But your bullpen has to do their part.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about situational baseball. And look, the Orioles have the talent to make a run in the playoffs. I really think it's possible. Even without Eflin, you really never know. October baseball is
Daniel says Mullins does the same thing as Mountcastle. He'll get stupid hot for a week and then go through 3 weeks without it. Yeah, we were just talking about that.
To Mullins' credit, he has like an 850 OPS.
Yeah, I mean, there was a stretch where he got ice cold again, but he has been hitting the ball well recently. And since the beginning of June, he's hitting like 286. Adit says, does Mayo get sent down for J.D. Davis at some point? I think Mayo is going to have to start like 0 for 22, and J.D. Davis is going to have to tear the cover off the ball. I don't think that. And J.D. Davis is left-handed, correct? I thought he was left-handed.
No, he's right-handed.
Who am I thinking of?
No, sir.
No.
Travis Ishikawa?
Am I thinking of Trent Grisham? There's a douche with a mustache who's left-handed for the Yankees, but I know what Trent Grisham looks like. Yeah, but I feel like it's somebody else. I don't know. No,
Nestor Cortez.
I love how he said everybody wants to beat us, and he almost got traded, and he has like an 8.55 ERA since that tweet.
Yeah, he said a douche.
Daniel Pitts says, give Mayo a shot. 15 ABs don't tell you anything about a player. I 100% agree. Daniel goes on to say, I'd much rather see Mayo trying to figure it out than watching Arias start over, and we know who Arias is, and he doesn't have a huge upside. Ramon Arias does nothing but ground out to second base. And then he hit that deep fly ball yesterday, and Kevin Brown got super excited. And as soon as he hit it well. And I thought, he doesn't have pull side power like that. There's no chance that ball's getting out. And the guy called it in front of the wall. All right.
Yeah. That's who Arias is.
Daniel Pitts, Paul, I am just sitting here waiting for your Brandon Hyde rant. Don't disappoint. I feel the same way about Hyde. I got to give it a rest with him. Somebody called me out for stretching, for reaching with a web injury, for overuse as a reached for a jab at Hyde. And I don't like Brandon Hyde, but I do need to leave him alone for a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Can I just say one thing? How many times do we get to say that a manager can make a bad decision or two and still be a good manager? Like how many times can we say that until he's a bad manager?
I agree.
How long is that leash? He's had 6 seasons to get better at in-game management, and he did
in the 8th inning of that game against Toronto on Tuesday, it should go down in the annals of baseball history as one of the worst managed innings of all time.
I talked to someone yesterday who, and this has been a pretty common trend that I've seen. There are a lot of Hyde apologists who have kind of come over to our side. I talked to one yesterday. He was like, even up to the beginning of this year, I was a huge Hyde defender.
I've been out on Hyde since. I can tell you the exact game 108 when he started Rougned Odor at third base after Odor said he's not comfortable there, and he had 3 guys in the lineup with 150 at bats and more who were batting 200 or below, who were batting below 200, and he started that lineup with an opportunity to sweep Pittsburgh, and Odor, non-error but mental error, opened the floodgates, and the Orioles lost that game 8-1. They had 3 hits. And that was when I was like, this is where we're going to see what kind of a manager Brandon Hyde is. And he managed them out of the playoffs in that game, in that season. I've been out on Hyde ever since then. Daniel Pitts, it's insane that even how bad we have played lately, we have the best record in the AL and second best in all of baseball, with Philadelphia having a half-game lead over us. Look, the Orioles were 24 games over 500 at one point in June. They're 3 games under since then. But it just goes to show that the rest of the league is just down. The rest of the league is just down. Everybody's struggling. There's a ton of I mean, look at the Braves roster. They are decimated. There's a ton of injuries everywhere. And the Orioles have been basically barely treading water. And they still managed to keep pace. And that's why, it's not just that the rest of the league dictates where you end up, right? Just a few comments. Any thoughts? Ryan?
No, I think you pretty much know it there. It's been consistent across the league where the best teams are playing pretty average ball lately. So the Orioles aren't immune. This isn't an
Randall
Orioles centric issue.
Fracassi, Hyde screws up again. I don't know what you're alluding to there, but yeah, I'm sure he probably got out of bed. He screwed up today. We can hear you talking about your fan.
Damn it.
Steve Loudermilk.
Sorry.
Emphasis on louder. How come we don't sign Trevor Bauer? It's a win-win. Oh, we've been over this. He's a douchebag. The Orioles know he's a douchebag. All of Major League Baseball knows he's a douchebag. Yeah, he's been exonerated in the one case, but there's 4 other women who have made claims about him. And the second you think that those are going away, if he steps back into Major League Baseball, you think the Orioles want any part of that? If Trevor Bauer were going to be playing Major League Baseball, he'd be in the league already. The Orioles aren't signing him. The Astros aren't. Nobody is signing Trevor Bauer. Maybe ever, but certainly not this year. And I don't care that he struck out 19 in a game in Mexico. He also gave up 7 runs in a game in like 2 innings in Mexico recently. Like that's like.
This is gonna be the second consecutive week on our show with a Henry Urrutia name drop. But Henry Urrutia has like an 850.
Oh, he's still playing?
Yeah. Bauer's dominating.
Yeah.
Poor
as he should.
You can't look a win-win. There might be a modicum of potential upside, but it's sure as hell not a win-win.
The Orioles aren't. I mean, just his personality alone could be a cancer for this team, and I certainly don't want to see it. But we got to get out of here. I should have already left for this open house. I can't help myself. All right. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we certainly don't have a show. Thank you to all of our loyal fans, listeners, viewers. Without you, we 100% do not have a show. So thank you so much for tuning in each and every week. We love doing this, especially after a great win like they had last night. Ryan, thank you, as always, for your excellent work today and for your background noise. And the cat show. That was cool.
Hey.